Hello friends, welcome to the class of the high voltage engineering. So in previous lecture I have discussed about some few important things related to the partial discharge where I have shown the some of the video clips to understand what exactly the partial discharge means. So let us move ahead in this part 2 of this partial discharge test where I am going to discuss about the uh, equation, the derivation of equation to calculate the energy that is being dissipated by the single discharge activity and the partial discharge test circuits. So let me quickly go ahead, okay, because you have referred these videos and the important terms related to these partial discharges. So these are the important terms which you always come across with when you are referring the standards to conduct the partial discharge test. Okay, in the next step, I have discussed about how this internal discharge activities will lead to the complete failure of the insulation. So it has a effect like train where three modes of operations can be observed. One is the mechanical deformation, second is the thermal, and third is the chemical deterioration. So the internal discharges lead to the permanent failure due to the action of this mechanical uh, mechanical behavior and thermal behavior and the chemical instabilities. So all these three actions are normally acting over a time due to the involvement of these discharge activities. So let us derive for the magnitude of the energy that is being associated with the single discharge. It means that how much amount of energy is being dissipated when the discharge is taking place at the cavity side when the insulation is subjected to the high voltage stress. So let us assume its equivalent circuit where you found three capacitances. One, that is the capacitance uh, taking place due to this cavity, which is denoted by CA, okay, which you can see that I am moving the laser pointer. CB, that is the equivalent capacitance of a healthy portion of insulation which comes in series with this white capacitor, and CC is the parallel combination of the capacitances that is being observed on two sides of this cavity capacitor. So ideally here you can see that the cavity capacitor, if you are supposed to approach with the simulation kind of circuit, simulation kind of uh, operation to understand the partial discharge activities, then one can show it like a switch. Okay, so during the normal condition, it means that when the voltage across this cavity is lower than its breakdown voltage value, this switch is acting as an open circuit. But when the voltage across this cavity becomes equal to its breakdown voltage value, then due to the occurrence of the spark between the two sides of cavity, it will acting as a closed switch. So during the abnormal condition, this switch is closed, and during the normal condition, this switch is assumed to be in open circuit condition. It means there is no discharge activity. But when the discharge is taking place, whatever the energy has been stored by the cavity capacitor is getting released to damage the healthy portion. So let me share this circuit, the derivation, and let me introduce it in a step by step, so that you can easily understand how this derivation can be achieved. Okay, so we need to consider this equivalent circuit. Suppose here the voltage is connected. Let me extend this. Okay, so this is the input voltage area side. Let me write it as a V in. Now what you have to do, you have to consider the waveforms. Okay, so when the discharge takes place, okay, when the discharge takes place in the void, the instantaneous charge transferred will be given by the product of equivalent capacitance as seen from the terminals of cavity CA, and change in the voltage across the cavity will be delta VA. Okay, when we are giving the voltage, this cavity capacitor will charge. Okay, so across it the voltage is built up. So when the voltage across this cavity becomes equal to the discharge inception voltage magnitude, the arc is produced. Okay, so it will short circuit the capacitor. As a result, it will transfer the energy to the healthy portion. So now here we need to see it from the cavity side. Okay, here if suppose I am connecting the voltmeter, then it will give the amount of voltage that is being changed when the energy has been transferred from cavity to the healthy portion of dielectric material. So when I am looking my equivalent circuit from the cavity side, then equivalent capacitance will be CA will come in parallel with respect to the series combinations of CB and CC. So equivalent circuit will now becomes as can be read as CA plus CB if I am writing the equivalent capacitance when I am looking from this cavity side, where the cavity capacitor will come in parallel with the series combination of CB and CC. Then equivalent capacitance under this situation will now becomes CA plus the series combination of two capacitances CB and CC. So CB into CC upon CB plus CC. So this will be the equivalent capacitance. Now we know that Q is equal to C into V. Okay, that is the empirical formula to calculate the amount of charge when one is knowing the value of capacitance and the voltage magnitude. So this QA, that is nothing, that is the charge that is being transferred by this cavity capacitor on the impact on the closure of this switch. So as a result, the voltage across it is going to be changed. So QA, okay, it is denoted as QA, that is the amount of charge that is being transferred from cavity area to the healthy area of the insulation. So CA is nothing but it is the equivalent capacitance multiplied with the delta VA. So it is C into delta VA, where C is nothing but it is the equivalent capacitance of the circuit seen from the cavity side. So C is equal to CA plus CB into CC upon CB plus CC. So if we are considering this if we are considering the relationship that CA is less than CB less than CC, then it will be reduced, this QA will be reduced to QA is equal to CA plus CB into delta VA. Okay, CB can be neglected as compared with the value of this healthy capacitance. So here you can see that equation has been derived, that is QA, that is the amount of charge that is being transferred when the discharge is taking place across the cavity capacitor. Let me wipe this to use the area again. So the charge that we cannot measure it directly, so the change in the voltage across the sample, and hence CC can be measured by introducing the apparent charge. So normally the in partial discharge test we are adopting the method of calibration, which suggests that the unknown quantity can be measured by applying a known magnitude which can produce a similar kind of effect. Okay, so now if suppose one want to so how it can be achieved? It can be achieved by viewing this partial discharge equivalent circuit from the known area side. It means that into the next stage we need to look this circuitry from the healthy portion side. So in a previous section we are looking the circuit from the cavity side. Now I don't know the magnitude because it is very hard enough for me to identify the magnitude of the discharge that is being observed, that is being released when the breakdown takes place at cavity area, because it is internally happen, and we cannot mount the sensors internally to those insulations which contains the imperfections. So now we need to work from the known area side. Means known area, it means that the area where we can mount our sensors for the reading purposes. Okay, so now we need to see the circuit from the healthy portion side. So from CC side, where I can easily measure the change in voltage delta VC. Okay, so thus delta VC, that is the change in voltage across the sample, is given by delta VC is equal to we have to apply the simple potential divider rule to obtain the voltage change seen across this cavity capacitor. So delta VC is equal to CB upon CB plus CC. Now I am not considering this CA because I need to first identify the amount of change, that amount of voltage change that is observed at the healthy portion. So CB upon CB plus CC into delta VA, the amount of voltage change that I have to consider or I have to calculate is it should be equal to the amount of voltage change that is being observed when the energy is transferred by the cavity onto the impact of discharge. So the apparent charge, in that case the apparent charge should be transferred, and that is represented by QC, where QC is representing the apparent charge, which is the product of delta VC and the equivalent capacitance when we are looking the circuitry from the CC side, means healthy capacitance side. Okay, so in that case the equivalent capacitance, in this case the equivalent capacitance will be, now CC is now coming in parallel with series combination of CA and CB. So CC plus CA into CB upon CA plus CB. So this is the equivalent capacitance of the capacitor. So QC is equal to, QC is equal to the equivalent capacitance into delta VC. Okay, that is the magnitude of charge, that is apparent charge that we need to supply to create the same amount of voltage change across healthy portion of capacitor to predict the magnitude of charge that is being released by the cavity capacitor. So this C is nothing but is this value. Okay, so again substituting for VC from this formula, okay, delta VC into this equation. So delta VC is this. Okay, delta VC is given by this formula. So QC will now equals to, if we are reducing it, then it will reduce to CB upon Ca plus Cb into delta Va. And by considering this relationship, we will get Cb into delta V. Okay, so now we have one formula for, let me wipe it out and then rewrite the equations for having a better comparison to understand whether we have achieved the similar equation for this QA and QC. So QA, that is given as Ca plus Cb into delta Va. Again, if we are considering this relation where Ca is very small, so it will reduce to Cb into delta Va. So here now you can see that this QA and QC both are same. Okay, so externally we have to supply the charge which can produce the similar effect during this partial discharge test. So QC is called as apparent charge or the discharge magnitude, which we need to supply externally to determine the magnitude of discharge or the magnitude of discharge that is being emitted or released when the discharge is taking place at the cavity site. So if we are considering the sinusoidal voltage, let me wipe it again for the further explanation. So if suppose as we know that the discharge is occurring during the positive cycle as well as during the negative cycle. So if suppose we are assuming plus or minus U as a discharge inception voltage which is across the cavity, sorry, not the discharge inception voltage but the voltage just before the discharge which is being occurred. Okay, so the voltage that is required for the breakdown of the gas in cavity, and plus or minus V is the voltage across cavity while the discharge is taking place. Then the discharge voltage Va, the voltage at which the discharge is taking place, is nothing but it is the difference between these two voltages. Okay, so energy transferred from cavity is the difference in the energy that is being stored before the discharge and the after the discharge. So you know the equation to calculate the energy for this capacitor, that is W is equal to 1/2 CV square. Okay, that is the simple formula which is being applied to here. Okay, and V is nothing but that is U minus V. Okay, so we as it is written that the energy transfer from the cavity is the difference between the energy that is being stored and the energy that is being released. So W is equal to 1/2 CA into U square, that is the amount of energy that is being stored before the discharge minus the energy released after the discharge. Okay, so 1/2 Ca into U square minus 1/2 Ca into V square. So solution of this is reduced to 1/2 Ca into U plus V into delta VA. Now why we have to represent this term as delta VA? Because when the energy is released, the voltage across the capacitor is changing. So 1 by 2 Ca into U plus V into delta VA, where U plus V is nothing but it is the peak magnitude of voltage at which the discharge is taking place. So that is the discharge inception voltage. So it is 1 by 2 Ca into Vi, that is peak magnitude, into delta VA. Okay, so this will be the term that we are getting after the solution of this equation for this energy. So W is equal to 1 by 2 Ca U or VIP into delta VA. Now our requirement is to obtain the equation for the energy that is being associated in a single discharge. So further solution to this, that U is equal to CB upon Ca plus CB into Vi of peak. So W is equal to 1/2 Ca into delta VA into CB upon Ca plus CB into Vi of peak. So approximately it will give us this value. Okay, 1/2 CB into delta VA into Vi peak. Okay, so now we have W is equal to 1/2. Okay, CB into delta VA, it is nothing but it is QC value. Okay, so ultimately we will get this equation. Okay, so W is nothing but it is a measure of discharge energy. So even for a small discharge whose magnitude is 10 picocoulomb at inception voltage of 7.1 kilovolt RMS can release the energy of 5 into 10 raised to 8 joules. Okay, so this energy is released in a small duration in 10 raised to minus 8 seconds. The power is quantitatively about 5 watts, which can cause heating and damage to the insulation. So the observable effect due to this partial discharge are increase in the loss component. It means that it increase the tan delta value, loss component of charging current taken by the capacitive sample, increase the dielectric power loss, radiation of energy in the form of sound, light or ultraviolet radiation. It changes the pressure, it causes the chemical changes in dielectric material, and some of these effects are useful in locating the sites of partial discharge. Like if we are if we can capture these sound signals which are propagated when the discharge is taking place, then we can easily locate the site of these internal discharges. So this is about the derivation related to the amount of energy that is being associated in a single discharge, or in other words the energy that is being released by the single discharge activity. So to detect the partial discharges, one can use the discharge detection methods. Okay, the chemical methods like dissolved gas analysis and acoustic emission methods, which are preferably used to locate the discharges. So straight discharge detection circuitry for the measurement of partial discharge is broadly used in high voltage laboratories to conduct the partial discharge test. So this is the simple circuit arrangement for detecting the partial discharge, where this high voltage transformer, okay, one represents the high voltage transformer which is free from the internal discharges. Second will represents the resonant filter, which is used to prevent any pulses starting from the capacitance of winding and bushing of the transformer. CX represents the test object. Okay, then CC represents the coupling capacitor. Okay, ZM, that will represents the measuring impedance. So the signal which is developed across this measuring impedance is passed through this band pass filter, which is denoted by 3, then amplifier, which is denoted by 4, and the patterns are captured over the CRO or pulse counter for the analysis purpose. So here you can see here you can see this is the discharge pattern which normally displayed over the screen of the CRO during this partial discharge test. Okay, so generally for having the simple understanding, this sinusoidal wave shape is transferred to this elliptical wave shape. Okay, so here we can see in the figure, let me consider this figure A, okay, where the geometry is point to plate electrode, and the spark is occurring between these 2 points. So when the voltage applied becomes greater than the critical inception voltage, the multiple pulses, as you can see over here, the multiple pulses has been created when the voltage across it becomes more than the discharge inception voltage. So typical discharge pattern, as you can see in the cavities, can be shown in a stepwise. Okay, so initially there is no discharge, successive increase in the potential, there might be the some amount of discharges can be observed. Okay, so this figures B and C normally representing the corona discharges in point plane configuration, whereas D represents discharge in the void in insulation if suppose it contains the voids internal to this insulation. Okay, so you have observed that the discharges are normally occurring in positive half as well as in negative half with equal numbers. The figure E represents the discharges in voids bound on one side with insulation and on other side by the conductor. So these such type of the patterns one can observe while conducting these partial discharge test. So here some point need to be considered, that if you can look at to these generators, okay, if you can look at to this generating circuit, then this generating circuit is used to produce the apparent charge, okay, which whose magnitude is considered equal to the discharge magnitude that is being released by this sample. So this Vk, okay, Vk, as you can see over here, it is generally a square wave generator, and Ck represents the calibrating capacitor of it. So the magnitude of charge that is being injected is Qk is equal to Ck into Vk, where Vk is the magnitude of this voltage pulse. The rise time of the pulse is about 2.1 microsecond, that is the rise time, and the pulse width varies between in between 10 to 20 microsecond to produce this square wave. Okay, so it will represent the square wave. So with suitable attenuation, the output voltage of the pulse generator can be varied from minimum output of about 10 microvolt to the maximum value of 100 volts in step. The value of Ck usually used lies between 1000 to 2500 picofarad. So if the calibrating pulse is directly injected at high voltage terminal, if this calibrating pulse is directly injected the high voltage terminal of the test object, the magnitude of the calibration pulse will be Ck into Vk. But if the pulse is injected across this measuring impedance, as you can see in the circuitry, then the calibrating pulse magnitude should be multiplied with the factor of Cx plus Cc upon Cc. Okay, so if you are measuring indirectly, then you have to multiply Ck into Vk with this factor. If you are directly applying or supplying this known charge to the high voltage terminal of the test sample, then this factor is reduced to 1 only. The another method of calibration is to use the secondary standard consisting of point hemispherical electrode system of specified dimensions, okay, as denoted by the IEC 270 1968. So this method is more accurate and easily reproducible if you are using the point hemisphere geometry as compared with this point plane, so that the accuracy can be obtained 10 to 20%. Okay, more accuracy can be achieved. So with the over voltage magnitude of 10 to 20% applied above the discharge inception voltage, this arrangement will give the discharges which are used for the calibration purposes as well. So this is the one of the method to detect the circuit. So that is about the straight discharge detection circuit. In case of the discharge detection, again there are the two possibilities. Either you can go with narrow band detection or else you can go with the wide band detection. So if narrow band detection, then the measuring impedance will be of parallel LC circuit which is tuned to 500 kilohertz. In case of wide band, the measuring impedance is actually the IC network connected to doubly tuned transformer. In case of narrow band detection scheme, the band pass filter has a bandwidth of plus or minus 10 kilohertz, whereas in case of wide band detection, the bandwidth is about 250 kilohertz with center frequency between 150 and 200 kilohertz. In narrow band, the pulses after amplification are displayed in an elliptical time base of CRO, whereas in wide band the pulses after amplification are displayed in an elliptical time base of a CRO. That is the common in any of the method. The resolution of the pulse is about 35 per quadrant in narrow band detection, whereas in wide band it is 200 per quadrant. Narrow band has sensitivity less than of 1 picocoulomb for a test piece capacitance of 100 picofarad, whereas in wide band the sensitivity of the device varies from 0.005 picocoulomb at 6 picofarad to about 15 picocoulomb at sample capacitance of 250 microfarad. The narrow band detection scheme can be used where the test piece has the capacitance of 100 picofarad to 0.1 picofarad, whereas wide band can be used for the test pieces up to 250 microfarad capacitance. So this is the difference between the narrow band detection and the wide band detection scheme. So calibration of the discharge detector can be done by, as I said, that injecting a calibrating pulse at HV terminal of test object across the measuring impedance, or one can go with point hemisphere electrode system of specified dimensions. So here the discharge detection in the power cable. Okay, so simple circuit arrangement you can see over here, where T represents the transformer, L represents the inductor to isolate the short circuiting influence of transformer secondary on the termination, so it controls the change in current magnitude. Z0, that will represent surge impedance of the cable which is under the test. CC is coupling capacitor. ZD is a detector impedance, and VD of T, that is the voltage signal across this detector impedance. Okay, so here the circuit arrangement is not only limited to the determination of the magnitude discharge, but it can also be applicable to locate the discharge activity into the cable just by capturing the time of propagated waves. So power cable of a longer length may be considered as a specimen with distributed capacitance rather than the lumped capacitance. So the same feature is true for the winding of transformers and rotating machines of high voltage rating. So in such cases, the location of the discharge is done using traveling wave concept. Okay, so here let us consider this figure. So the breakdown or the discharge in cavity at suppose to the location app. Suppose this is the location where the partial discharge activity is acting when the voltage is being applied. So the breakdown or the discharge in cavity at location F will cause charge accumulation at this point. So this will create a two traveling wave. As you can see over here, the wave is traveling on both the sides. Okay, so the voltage wave is given by V, as it is divided into the two parts, ZO into I of t by 2. So from this formula one can determine this voltage. So if Cc is neglected in comparison with this detector impedance, the voltage signal across the detection impedance will becomes Vd of t, which is equal to, we have to consider the potential divider rule. So our target is to determine the voltage available at this detector impedance. So by applying the potential divider, it is Zd upon Zd plus surge impedance of the cable, Zd plus Z0 into Z0 into I of t. Okay, Z0 into I of t. So if we are considering this Zd and Z0 both are same, if we are considering this Zd and Z0 both are same, equal, then Vd of t is, this is Z0 into Z0 divided by 2 into Z0. It means that it will reduce to Z0 into I of t by 2. So here we can see that this equation Vd of t is same as the equation of V. Okay, Vi. So if the partial discharge site is located exactly at middle of the cable, the traveling wave moving to left is reflected without any polarity change at the open end and then arrives at the detection impedance Zd, which separated from the direct pulse by time equal to the cable transit time of tau. So if the site is at other point, the time difference between original pulse and its reflection may be of any value from 0 to 2 tau. Okay, 0 to 2 tau, where tau that will represents the transit time. Okay, transit time of the propagated wave. So ultimately by using this time difference phenomena, the time which is being captured externally to the cables, one can predict the location of the fault. Okay, so if suppose the fault is occurring exactly at the middle of the point, then the difference between the time of flight by the two transmitted wave is 0. It means that one can easily say that the fault is occurring exactly at the center of the cable. So this is how the discharges can be detected in the power cables. Let us see the other way through which one can detect the discharge activities. So one is the chemical method, that is known as a dissolved gas analysis. So gas analysis is carried out to determine the concentration of one or more components of a gas mixture. The common types of analysis for the analyzers used for the measurement of the hydrogen, oxygen, methane, ethane, ethylene, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, propane, propylene, acetylene, carbon monoxide, etc. Because these are the gases which are normally generated when there is a vaporization of the liquid dielectrics. So DGA is the most single comprehensive asset condition assessment and management tool for the oil field power transformers. So it offers the advanced detection of incipient fault conditions, leading to almost all the failure mode of transformer fault. So if we are not taking care of this dissolved gas that is being observed when the vaporization of the transformer oil takes place, then it will turn into this catastrophic failure. So of course you can consider this will be the effect of the internal discharges as well, due to the formation of the gases what I have shown to you, because these gases have the different damaging effects to the internal structure of the equipment. So here you can see that the hydrogen gas normally causes the partial discharge, thermal fault and power discharges. The methane will cause the corona kind of partial discharges, low and medium temperature thermal fault. Ethane will cause low and medium temperature thermal fault. Ethylene cause high temperature thermal fault. Acetylene, very hot spot, low energy discharge, and high energy discharge means arc. The carbon monoxide will cause thermal fault involving cellulose like paper, pressboard, wooden blocks. Okay, then it gradually slowly from oil oxidation as well. The carbon dioxide cause normal aging, that is accelerated by amount of oxygen in oil and hydrogen in paper. The thermal fault involving cellulose will cause degradation to the paper, pressboard, wooden blocks, and also cause the accumulation from the oil oxidation as well. The oxygen will expose it to the atmospheric leaky gasket under the vacuum, air breathing conservator and leaky bladder. So the faults which you observe by means of these gases are the corona discharge, partial discharge of sparking type, the carbonized puncture in paper, surface tracking, flashover, thermal fault, carbonization of paper, the formation of carbon particles, then metal fusion, corrosion, overhealing of oils and severe arcing. So gradually the succession of this partial discharge activity will turn into the catastrophic failure of the high voltage equipment if not prevented. So this is the one of the way to monitor the health of the high voltage equipment on the basis of this dissolved gas analysis, but it is applicable only to those equipment who use the liquid dielectric. One more approach to deal with the partial discharge detection based on the acoustic emission method is broadly used nowadays to locate the discharge as well as to determine the discharge magnitude as well. So method needs the positioning of the sensors. So let me consider that I'm mounting the two acoustic sensors over the two sides of the transformer tank, which contains the insulation with internal discharges. Okay, so suppose the process is kind of similar that we have observed during the cable testing. Okay, so normally the piezoelectric sensors are normally mounted or stick over the tanks of the two transformers just to capture the acoustic signals. So acoustic signals, it means that the noise that the human cannot listen. Okay, because the acoustic, it means that the noise has high signal to noise ratio. Okay, it means that the frequency is in terms of kilohertz or in terms of the megahertz value, which we cannot which the human cannot hear very easily. So the minimum value of the sound which is required to hear from the by the human body is 70 decibel, but the sound which is the sound which is originated due to this single discharge is less than this 70 decibel. So approximately it is 20 or 15 or up to 30 decibel if we are considering the transformer of the natural cooling. Okay, so here you can see that the two sensors I have mounted over the tank of this transformer. Now when the voltage is applied, suppose there is a bushing and now I am applying the voltage level. So when the voltage is applied, and if suppose the oil inside the tank will consist of bubbles, let us say the bubbles are present. So when the voltage is being applied, this bubble gets charged. As a result, the discharge will taking place. So when the discharge is occurring, the waves are propagated in all the directions. Okay, so we need to capture the time of flight. Okay, so here you can have the vibration signals which will collide over the internal wall of this transformer on which these piezoelectric sensors has been mounted. So because of these vibrations, it will produces the signals. Okay, so by taking the difference in time of flight, one can easily identify easily locate the fault. Okay, so one approach, either you can go with this transit time, or you can go with this frequency shift. So to obtain this frequency shift, you have to take the reciprocal of the time of flight that you are capturing with the help of this acoustic signals, and based on the frequency values, or the signatures, you can compare it with the signatures of newly made transformer to identify the type of the fault. Okay, so based on the frequencies, one can identify whether there is a loose coupling towards the clamping of the clamping structure of the transformer core, or there may be the insulation failure or anything. Okay, so that can be done by this acoustic emission method. So it is a one type of the tool which is used to assess the conditions of the transformers and the other switchgear equipments. So this is about this partial discharge test. In next lecture I will discuss upon this dissipation factor measurement and the other test as well. Thank you.